you need a drink?
Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Welcome to a class. Wait for some people to come on. If anybody's available to come and learn together. Well, I'll say this anyway, so you'll be able to hear this whenever you want. So I'm going to do this not in one long. We cannot cover the whole Pesach in one class, and I don't want to overburden people with these laws. So we're going to do it in small classes. Do a couple of small classes, so you'll be able to absorb what we're learning together. I want to do this to learn together, and that would be the best if people would ask a question. They can type it in, and they can ask a question as we go along. That would be the best way to do it. So welcome. We're going to start one series. We'll either do it see how it goes, for half an hour, 45 minutes, and we'll do it again another time, and we'll try to cover the entire Pesach over the next 2 weeks. So the beauty of this year Pesach is going to be a Pesach that we haven't done in many, many years. In myself, since I've come out on Shlichus, which is 30 years ago, it's going to be a different Pesach than we usually have. That is, we're going to each sit with our families. Truth is that this is what's written in the Torah. If you go to the Torah, the book of Exodus, and you go to Parshas Boy, the portion which talks about the going out of Egypt, the Torah over there says that the mitzvah of the Seder is that each person should take Pesach Beisa. Each person should take Sela Bayis. It's an interesting law that the Korban Pesach needs to be, you need to sign up, so to say, to a household, because you have to eat the whole lamb at the night of Pesach. You weren't allowed to keep it for the next day. So if you had a lamb that had a certain amount, you need to make sure that you had everybody counted on this lamb, and you didn't want to leave it over. So if you only needed to invite people if you had a very big lamb, and you realized that you were not going to finish the entire lamb yourself, your own family, so you invited somebody else. But in general, it was each family came together by themselves. The Torah is a very interesting expression. The Torah, when it comes to this mitzvah, it says, "V'atem le'seitzi isur Pesach beisai ad haboker." God says to the Jewish people the night before the going out of Egypt, He says, you need to go into your house. You have to lock the door, and you're not allowed to leave your house. First quarantine that is mentioned in the Torah. You're not allowed to leave your house. Each person needs to go into their house, lock the door, and don't leave their house from this service. And then they had to, at that time, they needed to put the blood ala mashkef on the doorpost. They needed to put that blood on the doorpost, which is interesting. Most of us think that the blood was put on the outside of the house, but actually the blood was put on the inside of the house. Because the blood on the mashkef, on the doorpost, was there to signify to the Jew himself, not per se to the outside world. It was not a mezuzah, like a mezuzah we put on the outside. The blood was put on the inside of the house. So as the family sits inside the house, and they come together as a family, and they sit around the table, and they eat the Korban Pesach, they eat the sacrificial offering, and they eat the matzah, and they eat the maror, they did it as a family. And so too, in a way, we're going to come together as families, and we're going to eat the Seder together this year. We're not going to have As it looks now, not community seders. They don't want you to invite anybody to your seder. You should sit with your family. And therefore, it's important that we go through the seder and we know what to do at the seder. The truth is that today, if you get a Chabad Haggadah. It's a beautiful Haggadah Shal Pesach. I can pick it up over here. The Passover, the Haggadah for Pesach. You could actually download it. This Haggadah, I had a link where you can download this Haggadah for yourself. The whole Haggadah. In this Haggadah, which I am using, you have the beautiful setup of the Seder. It'll tell you exactly what to do. It's in English. And I'll give you a full schedule. And you should download this Haggadah, buy this Haggadah, print it out for the people that's going to be at the Seder, and follow it and read it in English. Take your time. There's no place to go. There's nothing to rush as you go through the Seder. You know, we call the Torah. The Torah calls the Seder. Torah calls Passover Chag HaMatzos, the holiday of the matzahs, the holiday of the matzah. We call it Chag HaPesach, Passover. By Jews, we call it Passover. It's called both times in the Torah that way, but we mainly call it Passover, Chag HaPesach. And in the Torah, it's written Chag HaMatzos. And I saw a beautiful pirush, a beautiful interpretation to this reason, is because God is expressing His love to the Jewish nation, and the Jewish nation is expressing the love to God. We call it Chag HaPesach, the holiday of Passover, because we're expressing our love to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That God saved us. He passed over our home when He did the plague of the death of the firstborns of the Egyptians. He passed over the Jewish home, and we were saved. So we are thankful to God that God saved us. But then God in the Torah calls it Chag HaMatzos. He calls it the holiday of Matzot. What is the holiday of Matzos? Why does He call it? Why does the Torah, God, call it the holiday of Matzot? Because that talks about the greatness of the Jewish nation. For God asked them to leave Egypt, to leave their homes, and to go out into a desert. We should follow Him in a desert. Nobody knew for where and how long and when are we going to get anywhere. And therefore in the prophets it says, God says, I remember the kindness of your youth. I remember when I asked asked the Jewish nation to go out of Mitzrayim, and the Jewish nation followed me. I said to go to Mitzrayim, they left Egypt as a nation, and I remember that self-sacrifice of the Jewish nation, that they went into a desert, into a place where you cannot really survive. You cannot survive, especially with million people. I don't know, a couple of million people that left Egypt. There was 600 men over the age of 20, from 20 to 60. That we know that was counted. So that means all the women and all the children and all the elderly men and women. There must have been over a million people that went out of Mitzrayim. And they all left, and as the Torah tells us, that one of the reasons that we eat the matzah is because it didn't have time to rise. God saw that unbelievable kindness, that unbelievable self-sacrifice that Jews had to do Torah mitzvahs, to follow Him, even though they're putting themselves in a very dangerous situation. That's why God called it Chag HaMatzos, the holiday of when the Jews left Egypt and they had no time for it to rise. From that, God asked the Jews that we should commemorate the holiday of Pesach every single year. And we should commemorate it in thought, in speech, and in action. We should commemorate Pesach in thought to understand what is the meaning of going out of Egypt. What is the meaning of going out of Egypt to me, myself, as a person that lived thousands of years after going out of Egypt? And what is the meaning in speech? What is the davening and the things that we say and the Haggadah? That's all Haggadah. The Haggadah, the book of that we say at the Seder is called Haggadah. Means to say, to expound, to tell. The whole concept of the Haggadah is that we tell our children based on the verse of the Torah, where the Torah says, you shall tell your children. So we come at the Seder and we not only have in our thought the meditation, the spiritual concept, but we actually say it. And that's why it says in the Haggadah, we say, whoever does more the night of Passover, talk about the going out of Egypt, talk to his family, of what is the meaning of the going out of Egypt, that is praiseworthy. So that's the concept of Dibur. And then we have the aspect of Maisa, which is the concept of action. And that's the Hilchos Pesach. Those are the laws of Pesach. The aspect of the action, the physical action that we are obligated to do coming up to Pesach and Pesach itself. We cannot do Pesach without preparing ourselves for Pesach, physically. Because we find that the Torah has a mitzvah in the Torah. The Torah says, when the Torah talks about the obligation, the physical obligation, for Pesach, it says, Bal Yirah, Bal Yemotza. You're not allowed to see and find any chametz in your house. A Jew needs to get rid of chametz from their house. Let's talk about the practical first, what that means, and how one gets rid of their chametz in their house. So the Torah talks about the concept and the law, the Jewish law, obligates a Jew not to see any of their chametz in their house. We're talking about real chametz. We're not talking about dust. We're not talking about chametz, as the halacha says, that's not edible. Even a dog won't eat the chametz that might be still left in your house. We're talking about edible chametz. If you left a piece of bread, a pretzel, a cookie, these are edible chametz that a Jew needs to make sure to put away. And that takes preparation. You need to go through your kitchen and through your living room. And many of us don't realize the most important place we might need to go through our cars. And we need to make sure that we don't put our hands between our seat and pick up and come up with a pretzel in your car seat. So you need to make sure you don't have chametz. We don't have to go so crazy and make sure that we don't have any dust. Spring cleaning is not Pesach cleaning. So we don't need to paint our homes and do cleaning and go drive ourselves meshugah to make sure that we don't have any dust in our house in Pesach. So the main thing is that we don't have chametz in our house, and that means that whatever you're gonna come into your home on Pesach, in your living room, in your bedroom, in your kitchen, main self-understood, in your dining room, you need to take all this chametz, all the bread product, and you need to put it away. You need to put it in a closet and put it separate away. And self-understood, you open your refrigerator, you need to clean out your refrigerator to take out any chametz that you might have. Now we do this also concerning like our dishes, chametz that we use on our dishes. The laws of koshering in halacha and Shulchan Aruch, the laws of koshering dishes and pots and pans and spoons and forks is in the laws of Passover, because that's what people did in those many years ago. We couldn't afford 2 sets of dishes, 2 sets of pots, so we would kasher all our dishes, our chametz dishes. We would kasher it for Passover, and you could still do that today. You can kasher all your dishes, all your pots and all your dishes besides anything that is ceramic, which is more difficult to kasher, can't kasher through boiling water. So basically, majority of your stuff, your dishes could be kashered, and you can use it for Pesach. If you don't want to do that, then you can put all those dishes away, or you can leave it in the cabinet where they are there a whole year, and you can put it on Pesach. You will put something that will say these cabinets have the chametz dishes in it, and you're gonna go and acquire just a few dishes and pots that you need for Pesach. And this year you won't need that many dishes and pots for Pesach if you're going to only be with your family, your immediate family, at your home. And today especially, that we can use a lot of plastic and paper goods that we can use on Pesach, and we don't have to have old dishes and pots and all these pots. You can't use plastic, but silverware and many things can be disposed. So again, there's so much anxiety today in the world. I'm trying to diminish any anxiety that might give you over Pesach. You don't have to go meshuggah. Try to do the mitzvah and worry about the chumris and the anxieties of Pesach. Because Pesach alone, even in the good days, can give a person a lot of fear and anxiety that they're doing this correct. Let's do the mitzvah. Let's make sure that we do the mitzvah of Pesach. I'm telling you, there's base that do the mitzvah of Pesach. You could basically clean your kitchen out, make sure that there's no chametz, put all your dishes and pots that you use a whole year, leave it in the place that it is, you'll close it, and then you can basically wash down your counters extremely well. If you want, pour some boiling water over it or cover it with silver foil. Take some boiling water from either your kettle, or boil up a little boil, pour it over your sink, and you can use it. These are not difficult things to do, and you just have to be careful, and you're ready to go. It will take you not long to kosher your kitchen, and you're ready to use your kitchen for Pesach. You don't have to go so meshuggah. It's very easy. It's not a difficult thing to do. And if you don't want to kosher it, you just need it. Then you just cover it. And today you can take silver foil. You can cover it with plastic. You can cover. There's many ways. Paper. You can roll out paper on your counters and cover it, and you're ready to go. You can I can give you many different ways. I tell you, one of the ways I started covering my sink. I take contact paper. I buy contact paper, and I cover my sink with contact paper. I did it last year. My brother told me this idea. I did it last year with contact paper. It was perfect. I used to have those bowls in the sink. Contact paper. I put the contact paper in the sink. I kasher the sink. I poured boiling water over the sink. I put the contact paper in the sink, and the sink was perfect. And then at the end of Pesach, I just pulled out the contact. It came out like nothing. And what a easy, simple way. So you can put contact paper the whole on your. If you have a small plate, you put contact paper. Take it off. After Pesach, it comes right off. So these are easy ways to do it, but you don't need to put contact paper on the sink. I wanted to put contact paper because it can handle all the pots and all the things we throw into the sink, and it handled it perfectly. But on your countertops, take either silver foil or paper. If you kasher it, you pour boiling water over it. You don't have to even do that either. You just put a little boiling water over it, and your countertops are ready to go. And it's not a big deal to do it. It's very simple. You just have to be careful. If you're using hot water, you don't want to hurt yourself, God forbid. Also, if you want to kosher any dish in your house, you take a bigger pot, boil up the water, and put in. This you need to be careful. You don't put your hand in the hot water, please. Don't do that. You're gonna hurt. But you can put the dish into the boiling water, and then pour out the boiling water, and your dish is kosher. It's kosher. So it sounds difficult. It's not. It's simple. I can help you anytime. You can call me, and I can go through with you how to kosher your kitchen and get it ready for Pesach. And as I said, a lot of times you don't need to kosher your kitchen. You just have to cover it as best as you can and clean it, something to clean it. And the truth is, if today you use Clorox on your, strong stuff on your counters, according to some, it's that already is koshering it, and it'll be enough. So your refrigerator, self-understood, is not a problem. It's cold, everything. Just clean out the refrigerator, wash it out, take out the chametz, self-understood. Get rid of your chametz from your refrigerator. You don't want to open up your refrigerator and see chametz in the refrigerator. And once you emptied out the refrigerator and you cleaned it out, you can now use it for Pesach, 100%. And that's basically, in short, if you have any questions, you can ask or you can call me. And that's basically the way we prepare ourselves. That's the mitzvah. By Yidah, by your matzah. You don't want to see and you don't want to find chametz, my friends. Please make sure that you get rid of your chametz. That's for sure that you need to do. You need to make sure that you don't want to walk into your house and find your chametz. So important is it that we don't want to find chametz in our house, is that we sell our chametz. We sell our chametz. Mechiras chametz. The selling of the chametz. Also, if you need that, we send out already a couple of links how to do mechiras chametz. You can do it on the internet. If you need that, I will give you that link of how to sell your chametz. And then we do bitul chametz on the night before Passover. When we do bedikas chametz, when we check for the chametz, we do bitul chametz. We nullify our chametz. And the next day, when we burn the chametz, right before the next day in the morning, 10, 11 o'clock, when we burn the chametz, we do again bitul chametz. We nullify the chametz again. And we make sure to say that all the chametz that I have in my house is null and void. So my friends, we put away the chametz, we nullify the chametz, we sell the chametz, and we don't see the chametz. It's very basic. It's very a basic mitzvah, something we all can do in a very simple way, and we don't have to go crazy and think we have to have anxieties and lose our heads in this mitzvah. It's a very easy thing to do. And self-understood, not to eat chametz from the beginning of Pesach until the end of Pesach. So that's the basic concept of getting rid of our chametz. So we're going to do that. That you could start already now and start cleaning up your house, chametz, putting all the chametz in not letting it getting all over the house and eating all over the house, cookies and cake, but starting to minimize, to know where our chametz is and where we put our chametz. As we come close to the Pesach, we need to prepare ourselves for the Seder, which is gonna be on the first night and the second night of Pesach. It's very important that we have certain things for Pesach. There are certain things that we cannot get away from, we are obligated to eat on Pesach. Now the mitzvah, everybody knows the mitzvah of matzah, that we eat matzah on Pesach. The truth is, the mitzvah is only to eat matzah at the Seder. You're not obligated to eat matzah every day of Pesach. Some people complain matzah gives you constipation, so you don't need to eat matzah on every single day of Pesach. You need to eat matzah at the Seders. There's 2 Seders that are coming up. We need to eat matzah. Now, there are many different matzahs you can get out there. There's 2 basic matzahs, the machine matzahs and the handmade matzahs. Usually the difference you can see between the machine matzahs and the handmade matzahs is the machine matzahs are square and the handmade matzahs are round. The machine matzahs are much lighter. The handmade matzahs are thicker. because the machine matzahs have a very basic consistency of the all the same. They're capable of keeping them all thin and one consistent. But the handmade matzahs is very difficult. That's what you'll find in a pound. Some pounds have 8 matzahs, some pounds have 7 matzahs, some pounds have 6 matzahs, because to roll out a matzah, it's impossible to make it always the same thickness. So the handmade matzah and the roll and the machine matzah, both are kosher Pesach. The Rebbe asked Jews to eat at least at the Seder handmade matzah, shmura matzah. We call it shmura matzah. So that's important that you should get the basic shmura matzah, which is 3 matzahs for each night of the Seder. That's 6 matzahs. If you need that, we can give you. You can call me or text me that you need shmura matzah. I will send you 3 matzahs for the Seder. It will be my pleasure. But you should have 3 shmura matzahs, at least for the first Seder. And if you can get, you really can have 2 shmura matzahs for the first Seder, 2 shmura matzahs for the second Seder. You should try to get shmura matzah. Or the minimum, 1 matzah for the first Seder and 1 shmura matzah for the second Seder. So you at least eat kazayis, a certain amount of matzah, shmura matzah, at your Seder table. It's important that you acquire wine. You need wine. Wine is an important part of the Seder, and we need to have wine at the Seder. You can get grape juice, you can have wine. You should acquire that. Make sure that you all have wine for the Seder. You need to have murrah. These are the 3 mitzvahs that we do. That we drink the 4 cups of wine, we eat matzah, and we eat murrah. Now murrah, you can buy romaine lettuce, or you can buy endives, or you can buy real murrah, horseradish. You can make it yourself. They sell you the roots of the murrah, and you can grind it up yourself and have murrah. These are the 3 ingredients you need, besides the meal that you're gonna make or buy. But these are the mitzvah. These are the mitzvahs. These are the 3 mitzvahs you're obligated to have at the Seder. Both nights at the Seder, you need to have these 3 entities. So it's important that you, on your list of what you need to acquire before Pesach, these things you need to acquire, hopefully you'll get them before Pesach. So let us go into the Seder. If you download this booklet, or you just listen to me, we know that it's called a Seder because it has a order. So we have an order to the Seder. There's an order. The order to the Seder is Kaddish, Urchatz, Karpas, Yachatz, Magid, Rachza. We'll go through all these 15 steps. There are 15 steps. Right, so now it's good to, Nicole, right? I know, that's why I'm doing this. So hopefully we can go through the Seder step by step and know exactly what you need to do at this Seder, right? That's correct. So that's the first step. You have an Agada, that's already in the right direction. So let's go through. We're going to go through Seder. We're going to make sure that you have all your needs. You're first going to clean your house for Pesach, and then you're going to get all your ingredients and your Haggadah and your wine, and you're going to set up your table, and you're going to follow the directions, and we're going to go through step by step of how we do a Seder. We'll go practical, and we'll go a little bit mystical also. What is the mystery behind this? And what are we trying to accomplish spiritually also in the journey of the Seder? Because the truth is, the Seder is a journey. It's a Seder, it's an order, and it's a certain order that the sages put in to practice so that we would have the spiritual journey through this physical practice. And the more, I will put the link up on my Facebook and you'll be able to sell your chametz. Not a problem. Also, whatever you need, you know my number, my cell number, 561-526-5646. And I am available anytime to help you out in any way I can. So today I can't come I usually would go to people's houses and kasher. I cannot do that at this present time. You need to do it on your own. I'm just telling you, it's not a big deal. You don't have to be a learned person to make your kitchen kosher for Pesach. It's very easy. I can go through step by step with you, and it's not a big deal. So it's simple. And so to the Seder. Seder is not either a big deal. It was set up in a Seder, in an order that we can just basically follow and go step by step and go through the Seder, which you're going to do, each one in our own home, and it's going to be a journey that you will never forget. And the truth is, when you come to Chabad, or you go to a public Seder, you go to somebody else, you're just there as a guest. You're all going to be in your homes, not as guests. You're going to be in your homes, and you're going to run your own Seders. It's going to be beautiful. This is the Seder you will not forget, because it's going to be your Seder. It's going to have your flavor. Every person's going to have their flavor at this Seder. And that's going to be the beauty of this Seder. That's going to truly be the beauty of this year's Seders, each one of your houses, that it's going to be a Seder to remember. So again, we're going to start off with basically, you come home, or you're going to be home, and you're going to sit around, you're going to make the table be set up. You're going to have all these ingredients that you need. And we start off, like we start off every time, with Kaddish. Now, to do the mitzvah of the Seder is you need to drink 4 cups of wine. And I'm starting off with that, because that's the first thing that we do at the Seder table. We drink wine. Because we make Kiddush. Kiddush is something we make every Friday night, or every Yom Tov by night. We bring in the holiday, we're making Kiddush over wine. But at the Seder, this is more important, more than just making Kiddush. You're drinking the cup of wine is more than just making the Kiddush like we make it on Friday night or Yom Tov by night. Because this Kiddush, this first cup of wine, is part of the 4 cups of wine. It's not just only the making of the Kiddush, it's also part of the 4 cups of wine. And therefore, it needs to be done as part of those 4. And therefore, according to Jewish law, you need to start your Seder. The Seder needs to start after nightfall, which these days are a little bit late. After 8 o'clock, I'm not sure the exact time. It's like 8:10 or 8:07 exactly the time the Seder starts. You cannot drink your first cup of wine before 8:10 around. I'll find out. I don't have a calendar in front of me. But it needs to be after nightfall, like when Shabbos ends. That's when nightfall is, and you need to start your Seder after that time, around 8:10 at night. And the first cup starts your Seder. The Kaddish, the first cup of wine, is going to start your Seder. Now, the cup of wine needs to have a certain amount. And there are, again, many different. I'm going to give you the lowest amount. Chabad says 3.2 ounces. I even seen a lower number, 2.9 ounces. So the minimum is 2.9 ounces. That's a very small amount that you need to drink, 2.9 ounces of wine. You need to find, if you cannot drink wine, it's hard to drink wine, you need to find the smallest cup that you can find that at least has 2.9 ounces or 3 ounces. Or you can find a cup that has 4 ounces. Find the smallest cup, because on Passover, the mitzvah is to drink the cup of wine. So it's better to find a smaller cup of wine and drink the whole cup of wine than to buy a big cup of wine, an 8-ounce cup, and only take an ounce or 2 or 3 even, because you really should drink the whole cup of wine. And this is for men and women. This mitzvah of drinking 4 cups of wine is not only like on Friday night, where maybe the man, the husband, says the Kiddush and everybody else gets a little sip. The mitzvah of the 4 cups of wine is a mitzvah that everybody is obligated to. Yes, you can drink grape juice. If you cannot drink wine, you can drink grape juice. If you could mix the wine and the grape juice together, it would be better. Do half grape juice, half wine, or quarter grape juice, quarter wine. But again, if you think about it, that the obligation is 3.2 ounces, or even, as I said, I found a minimum of 2.9 ounces. That's extremely, that's not a lot of wine. You need to find a small cup, the smallest cup that you can find. At least 3-ounce cup. If you can find a 3-ounce cup of wine, a 3-ounce cup. 3 ounces of wine is not a lot of wine. But if you still cannot drink wine, drink grape juice. Or mix the grape juice here, 3 ounces or 4 ounces. Take 3-ounce grape juice, 1 ounce of wine. Yep, that will be the best thing to do if you cannot drink wine, pure wine. Now we drink red wine. We try to drink red wine because there are many reasons why we try to drink red wine, because it's also remembering the blood, which is red. And but it does not. If you cannot get red wine, or you can't drink red wine, you can drink white wine too for the cups of wine. It doesn't diminish the mitzvah of the 4 cups of wine. Okay, so again, practical. Get a smaller cup. Get the smallest cup that you can get in the wine, and drink the wine, or drink grape juice. Those that cannot drink wine, there are some people that can't drink alcohol. You can 100% drink grape juice. And you should 100% not drink wine. You should drink grape juice, 100%. So Kaddish, main thing is that when we come to Kaddish, we come to that time of the Seder, and we sit down at the Seder and we're doing Kaddish, we should all be done. The Seder is ready. We're all coming to say Kiddush. And really, the word itself is Kaddish, is sanctity. Sanctity is calm. It's not rushed. It's holy. And therefore it's called Kaddish. Therefore we call it in general Kiddush. The bringing the Friday night that we're going to make Kiddush is to bring holiness into the beginning of the Shabbos. It's to sanctify it. We're sanctifying it through wine. We're sanctifying the day, and we say it in the prayer that we're sanctifying Kaddish, that we're sanctifying the Shabbos, and that means that we're all coming to the table, and it's ready for the concept of sanctity. It has within it the capability of sanctity, which is the concept that we're trying to accomplish with the Kiddush, with making the Kiddush before we start actually not before we start, starting the process of the Seder, starting our journey. Our journey, we realize that the journey that we are taking is to bring sanctity into our lives, which is the concept of the Seder, which is the order. You know, we have 15-step order. It says one of the reasons why there's a 15-step order in the Haggadah is the 15 steps that was in the Beit HaMikdash. There was 15 steps between the courtyard and the doors that led into the temple area. There were 15 steps, which is also symbolic to the 15 Shir HaMalos, the 15 chapters of Psalms. That these Psalms and these steps, a Jew goes from one level to a higher level, and he ultimately comes to the doors of the temple. This is also, in a way, the journey that a Jew goes from one level, from the night of Pesach. He leaves, so to say, the previous part of life. He's going out of Mitzrayim. He leaves the Egypt of the past, whatever the Egypt might be. You know that in Hebrew, the word Mitzrayim is not Egypt. I don't know the actual Hebrew word for Egypt, but we call it Mitzrayim. Mitzrayim means Meitzar, which is confinement. When a Jew leaves confinement to the aspect of what is greater than that, he leaves the confinement to broaden his life, to make his life more easier, to bring holiness into his life, tranquility into his life. When a Jew does that, he realizes that he cannot do that in one step, because he might jump too far. He might fall in his jump. And therefore, he does it step by step. He goes in what we call a Seder. He goes in an order. And slowly, this is a 15-step order. As you're going to sit at your Seder, you're going to go 15 steps, from step to step, from level to level. Through this journey, you're ultimately going to reach the top of the top, which is going to open the doors, so to say, to the temple, to the concept of the holiness in the temple. And that's why, one of the reasons that we do these 15 steps. And that's why we separate it. You'll see that as you go through the Seder, you're going to separate this journey. It's not going to take you 5 minutes from Kaddish to Nirtzah, from making the Kiddush, until you finish the Haggadah. It's going to take you maybe an hour. Depends how fast you read. And it depends how hungry you are. Kaddish, you sanctify yourself. That's the first thing we do. On the table, when you're going to come to your table, we need to, before the Kiddush, we need to set the table for the Seder. And then on the table, besides having silverware, whatever you put on a regular table, you're going to make a Seder plate. You're going to put together a Seder plate. Seder plate is going to have certain ingredients on this plate. It's going to, first of all, have 3 matzahs. It's very important, right? The 3 matzahs. It's going to have 3 matzahs. You can buy a matzah cover, fancy one, whatever you want. People have silver matzah trays. Everything is beautiful. You're going to have this Seder plate, and it's going to, or you could just basically have, if you don't have anything, you take 3 matzah, you take a napkin, put it on the table, take 3 matzahs, put another napkin on top of it. Or if you want to be a little bit more, you take napkin on the bottom, 1 matzah, another napkin, second matzah, another napkin, then a bigger napkin on top, covers that's your 3 matzah plate. Easy. You want to go buy a cover? No problem. But you can do it that way. And on top of this Seder, the Chabad does that we put the plate, the Seder plate with all, not the plate, but it's actually the different things that we put on the Seder plate. We put it right on that. If you were, we cover with a little plastic. You take a plastic, you take a bag, a bigger plastic bag, you put it over the napkin, and then you put different things on the thing. You're going to put a egg, the beya, symbolic to the sacrificial offering, the chagiga that we brought in the temple. You can take a shank bone, you can take a bone, or by Chabad we use the gargle, the neck of the chicken. That is symbolic to the Korban Pesach, sacrificial offering of the Passover. You're going to take the charoses that you're gonna dip into the salt water. Okay, so the zroa and the beya is what the zroa is to your right, the beya is to your left, and then on the bottom you're gonna put the charoses to your right, and the karpas to your left. So the charoses, you mixed of apples and you're gonna make a mixture of apples and nuts. You're gonna make this mixture. It's gonna look like tit. It's gonna look like cement. People like charoises, and you're gonna put it on the right side, the bottom, and you're gonna take your karpas, either carrots, onions, potato, what you're gonna use. You're gonna put it on the left side, and then you're gonna put in the middle your mortar, 2 mortars. So you have 2 pieces of romaine lettuce, one on top, one a little lower than it. And those are the 6 things we put on the Seder plate. That's your Seder plate. That's the beauty of your Seder plate. Now by Chabad, we specifically use shmura matzah. And one of the difference between shmura matzah and machine matzahs is that a machine matzah is always very flat. A machine matzah is flat. And a shmura matzah is usually like a little bit indented. Because as they put it into the oven, in the middle comes up a little bit. So there's always like a little indentation. It sometimes can look like a little bit of a bowl. It's like a vessel, a kli. So actually, we turn the matzahs, the 3 matzahs, that they're like sitting 3 bowls on top of each other. It's a very, little indentation bowl, and that becomes the vessel. It's called the chsid. It's a vessel. The matzah becomes a vessel. The matzah becomes the vessel to whatever we're going to do at the Seder. The matzah is symbolic to many things. You have Kohen, Levi, Yisrael, it's symbolic to the entire Jewish nation. The matzah stands for Chochma, Bina, Das, wisdom, understanding, and knowledge. It becomes a vessel for all holiness. That's what the Seder plate represents. It represents our becoming a vessel to be able to receive the message of freedom, of going out of exile. We realize that the Seder is just the beginning, because the Seder is something we live with a whole year. As you see that we say every Friday night, Zeich L'Yetzias Mitzrayim. We mention every day the going out of Mitzrayim. So the Seder really is a teaching of how we need to go out of Egypt every single day of our lives. So we do it as a Seder. We come together at the Seder. We do this order of the Seder so that we understand and we comprehend and we are ready to receive this aspect, so that not only we have it at the Seder, but we have it for the rest of the year. By the world, at the end of the Seder, they say Chasal Siddur Pesach, that we have ended this Seder. By Chabad, the Alter Rebbe took it out of the Seder, of the Haggadah. We don't say, the last words we say, L'shana Haba B'Yerushalayim. We don't say the words Chasal Siddur Pesach, that we have ended the Seder of Passover. We don't end it. It says, the Alter Rebbe, in the end of the Haggadah, one of the statements of the Haggadah, we say, Chol Dor V'Dor, Chayiv Adam Liris Es Atzmi Kil Yosef Mitzrayim. In every generation, every Jew has to feel like he's going out of Mitzrayim. The Alter Rebbe adds words. He says, B'chol Dor V'Dor, B'chol Yom V'Yom, every single day. Every single day, we have to feel like we're going out of Mitzrayim. What does that mean? That every single day, we have to comprehend this concept, that we have the capability to go out of exile. We have the capability, once God took us out of Mitzrayim, out of exile, 3,000 years ago, God said a Jewish person will never be in exile again. You can't put a Jew in exile again. The problem is, as the statement says, I don't know who came up with that, but they say you can take a Jew out of exile, but you can't take the exile out of him. So God took us out of exile. We are not in exile anymore, but we have an exile mentality. We confined ourselves. That's why I said the word Mitzrayim stands for confinement. We confined ourselves. And we limit ourselves. We limit ourselves. We limit our capability. We limit our potentials. And therefore, comes the Seder, comes the night of the Seder. We have to realize that we're unshackle ourselves. It's very interesting in the Torah here, the reading of the Torah in Parshas Bo. It's called Leil Shimurim. We know that the night of Pesach is called a night of watching. It's Leil Shimurim, Hu Livnei Yisrael. It's a night of watching. I mean, God watches over us. It's very interesting that the Torah in Parshas Bo, the book of Leviticus, says, on one hand, don't go out of your house. And then it says, God watches over you. If God watches over me, so I should be able to go out of my house and He'll watch over me. But really, the Leil Shimurim, that God watches over us, means that God is watching over and tells us, don't worry. Don't worry to let go. Don't worry to have some trust. Don't worry to go better, to go higher. Well, most of us are afraid of letting go, going out of Mitzrayim, going out of our limitation, because we're afraid of the unknown. We're afraid of where it's going to lead us, and that's what maybe the Seder teaches us. Don't be afraid. Never be afraid of holiness. It's only going to get you to a better place. So therefore, we take these matzahs and we put it facing that it becomes a vessel, 3 vessels. And now, hopefully, this matzah, which symbolizes the concept of bittul, humility, that means we take wisdom, we take our understanding, we take our knowledge, and we, on the night of the Seder, we bring it to a little bit of humility, so that we have the capability to be vessels, so that we have the wisdom and we have the understanding and we have the knowledge that is not only based on our own experience, but is based on a godly experience, on a soul experience. And that's why we have 3 matzahs that are a vessel, and you have 6 entities, which is symbolic in Kabbalah to the concept of the 6 emotions, which is Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferes, Netzach, Chod, Yesod. And we take these 6 emotions and we put it into the vessel. We put it into this 3 vessels. But we put it into a vessel of matzah. Not only do we put it into a vessel of matzah, which is humility, but we put it into a matzah that's called matzah shmura. It's a handmade matzah. Handmade matzah means a human person put his own effort in this matzah. It was not done by machine. Machine matzah is kosher for Passover. But we want to use handmade matzahs. We want to use a matzah that a human being, and if you ever were in a matzah bakery where they make handmade matzahs, they keep on saying l'shem matzahs mitzvah, that they are working, and it's a hard work to run. It's a very difficult job. I once myself tried to roll out a matzah. It's not an easy thing to do. So to roll out this matzah takes human effort, labor, physical labor, and they keep on saying l'shem matzahs mitzvah, that they're doing it for the sake of a mitzvah. We specifically want to use this matzah at the Seder, because we want to have that this bittul, this humility, came through our own service, our own avodah, through the work of man, not a machine, but through the work of man. And then, that's why it's called matzah shmura. Ushmaitem es hamatzos. You shall watch the matzah. That is an obligation of Shmura Matzah, to make sure the matzah is never left to rise. The dough is never left to rise. If we continue to make sure that the dough that has the potential of rising never rises, we have Shmura Matzah. So that's what we try to do. That's in essence that's the Seder plate. That's what we're trying to do. By these 6 entities put on top, and then they come into the 3 bowls, the three levels of intellect, which is symbolic in the 3 matzahs below. And now, by having this at our table and looking at this matzah, and all these entities, the entire Seder, we realize that the whole purpose of this journey is to to go out of our own Mitzrayim, to go out of our own Egypt. We're learning how to grow. We're learning how to go out of this constriction and to go to a higher place, to make ourselves a better person. So we're going to end this tonight, and I hope you enjoyed this journey. We are not finished, self-understood. I will advertise when the second class will be. It will be most probably on Thursday, and we will continue our journey in the learning of the Haggadah and in the journey of the Seder. I ask you all that first of all, you should write it about it if you have any questions, if you don't understand. I want to make sure that through this journey of learning of the Seder, that you know practical how to run a Seder. I know, and therefore I need to see your response or your questions, if you have any, that you're making sure that I'm coming out extremely clear in how to have this journey, how to run the Seder. Have a wonderful evening, have a good night, and we'll see each other at this present time on Thursday night at 7:30 p.m. Have a wonderful night. See you soon. And this also is going to be saved, so you always can watch it. I'll save it also on the Torah Direct too. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful night.